Clint Eastwood Jr. is an American actor, filmmaker, musician, and politician. After achieving success in the Western TV series Rawhide, he rose to international fame with his role as the man with no name in Italian filmmaker Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy of spaghetti westerns during the 1960s and as anti-hero cop Harry Callahan in the 5 Dirty Harry films throughout the 1970s and 1980s. These roles, among others, have made Eastwood an enduring cultural icon of masculinity. For his work in the Western film Unforgiven and the sports drama $1 Million Baby, Eastwood won Academy Awards for Best Director and Best Picture, as well as receiving nominations for Best Actor. Eastwood's greatest commercial successes have been the adventure comedy Every Which Way But Loose and its sequel, the action comedy Any Which Way You Can, after adjustment for inflation. Other popular films include the western Hang 'Em High, the psychological thriller Play Misty for Me, the crime film Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, the western The Outlaw Josie Wales, the prison film Escape from Alcatraz, the action film Firefox, the suspense thriller Tightrope, the western Pale Rider, the war films Where Eagles Dare, Kelly's Heroes, and Heartbreak Ridge, the action thriller In the Line of Fire, the romantic drama The Bridges of Madison County, and the drama Gran Torino. In addition to directing many of his own star vehicles, Eastwood has also directed films in which he did not appear, such as the mystery drama Mystic River and the war film Letters from Iwo Jima, for which he received Academy Award nominations, the drama Changeling, and the South African biographical political sports drama Invictus. The war drama biopic American Sniper set box office records for the largest January release ever and was also the largest opening ever for an Eastwood film. Eastwood received considerable critical praise in France for several films, including some that were not well received in the United States. Eastwood has been awarded 2 of France's highest honors. In 1994, he became a recipient of the Commander of the Order des Arts et des Lettres, and in 2007, he was awarded the Legion of Honor Medal. In 2000, Eastwood was awarded the Italian Venice Film Festival Golden Lion for lifetime achievement. Since 1967, Eastwood's Malpaso Productions has produced all but 4 of his American films. Elected in 1986, Eastwood served for 2 years as mayor of Carmel by the Sea, California, a nonpartisan office. Eastwood was born on May 31, 1930 in San Francisco, California, the son of Clinton Eastwood and Ruth Wood. Ruth later took the surname of her second husband, John Belden Wood, whom she married after the death of Clinton Sr. Eastwood was nicknamed Samson by the hospital nurses because he weighed 11 pounds 6 ounces at birth. He has a younger sister named Jean Bernhardt and is of English, Irish, Scottish, and Dutch ancestry. He is descended from Mayflower passenger William Bradford, and through this line is the 12th generation of his family, born in North America. During the 1930s, his family moved often as his father worked at jobs along the West Coast. Contrary to what Eastwood has indicated in media interviews, they did not move between 1940 and 1949. Settling in Piedmont, California, the Eastwoods lived in an affluent area of the town, had a swimming pool, belonged to a country club, and each parent drove their own car. Eastwood attended Piedmont Middle School, where he was held back due to poor academic scores, and records indicated he also had to attend summer school. From January 1945 until at least January 1946, he attended Piedmont High School, but was asked to leave for writing an obscene suggestion to a school official on the athletic field scoreboard and for burying someone in effigy on the school lawn, on top of other school infractions. He transferred to Oakland Technical High School and was scheduled in January 1949 to graduate mid-year, although it is not clear if he did. Clint graduated from the airplane shop. "I think that was his major," joked classmate Don Kincaid. Another high school friend, Don Loomis, echoed, "I don't think he was spending that much time at school because he was having a pretty good time elsewhere. I think what happened is he just went off and started having a good time. I just don't think he finished high school," explained Fritz Maines, a boyhood friend 2 years younger than Eastwood, who remained associated with him until their falling out in the mid-1980s. Biographer Patrick McGilligan notes that high school graduation records are a matter of strict legal confidentiality. Eastwood held a number of jobs, including as a lifeguard, paper carrier, grocery clerk, forest firefighter, and golf caddy. Eastwood said that he tried to enroll at Seattle University in 1951, but instead was drafted into the United States Army during the Korean War. He always dropped the Korean War reference, hoping everyone would conclude that he was in combat and might be some sort of hero. Actually, he'd been a lifeguard at Fort Ord in Northern California for his entire stint in the military, said Eastwood's former longtime companion Sandra Locke. Don Loomis recalled hearing that Eastwood was romancing one of the daughters of a Fort Ord officer who might have been entreated to watch out for him when names came up for postings. While returning from a prearranged tryst in Seattle, Washington, he was a passenger on a Douglas AD bomber that ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean near Point Reyes. Using a life raft, he and the pilot swam 3.2 kilometers to safety. According to the CBS press release for Rawhide, the Universal Film Company was shooting in Fort Ord when an enterprising assistant spotted Eastwood and invited him to meet the director. According to Eastwood's official biography, the key figure was a man named Chuck Hill, who was stationed in Fort Ord and had contacts in Hollywood. While in Los Angeles, Hill became reacquainted with Eastwood and managed to sneak Eastwood into a Universal studio, where he introduced him to cameraman Irving Glassberg. Glassberg arranged for an audition under Arthur Lubin, who, although very impressed with Eastwood's appearance and stature, then 6'4", disapproved initially of his acting skills, remarking he was quite amateurish. He didn't know which way to turn, or which way to go or do anything. Lubin suggested that he attend drama classes and arranged for Eastwood's initial contract in April 1954 at $100 per week. After signing, Eastwood was initially criticized for his stiff manner and delivering his lines through his teeth, a lifelong trademark. In May 1954, Eastwood made his first real audition for Six Bridges to Cross, but was rejected by Joseph Pevney. After many unsuccessful auditions, he was eventually given a minor role by director Jack Arnold in Revenge of the Creature, a sequel to the recently released Creature from the Black Lagoon. In September 1954, Eastwood worked for 3 weeks on Arthur Lubin's Lady Godiva of Coventry, won a role in February 1955, playing Jonassy, a sailor in Francis in the Navy, and appeared uncredited in another Jack Arnold film, Tarantula, where he played a squadron pilot. In May 1955, Eastwood put 4 hours' work into the film Never Say Goodbye and had a minor uncredited role as a ranch hand in August 1955 with Lawman, also known as Star in the Dust. Universal presented him with his first television role on July 2, 1955, on NBC's Allen in Movieland, which starred comedian Steve Allen, actor Tony Curtis and swing musician Benny Goodman. Although he continued to develop as an actor, Universal terminated his contract on October 23, 1955. Eastwood was cast as Tom in Star in the Dust with Richard Boone. Eastwood joined the Marsh Agency, and although Lubin landed him his biggest role to date in the first Traveling Celeste Liddy and later hired him for Escapade in Japan, without a formal contract Eastwood was struggling. Upon the advice of Irving Leonard, his financial advisor, he changed talent agencies to the Kuman Olenek Agency in 1956 and Mitchell Gertz in 1957. He landed several small roles in 1956 as a temperamental army officer for a segment of ABC's Reader's Digest series and as a motorcycle gang member on a highway patrol episode. In 1957, Eastwood played a cadet in West Point series and a suicidal gold prospector on Death Valley Days. In 1958, he played a Navy lieutenant in a segment of Navy Log and in early 1959 made a notable guest appearance as Red Hartigan on Maverick opposite James Garner as a cowardly villain intent on marrying a rich girl for money. Eastwood had a small part as an aviator in Lafayette Escadrille and played a major role as an ex-renegade of the Confederacy in Ambush at Cimarron Pass, also 1958, a film which Eastwood viewed disastrously and professes to be the lowest point of his career. In 1958, Eastwood was cast as Rowdy Yates for the CBS hour-long Western series Rawhide, the breakthrough in his career he had long been searching for. However, Eastwood was not especially happy with his character. Eastwood was almost 30, and Rowdy was too young and too cloddish for Eastwood to feel comfortable with the part. Filming began in Arizona in the summer of 1958. It took just 3 weeks for Rawhide to reach the top 20 in TV ratings, and although it never won an Emmy, it was a major success for several years and reached its peak at number 6 in the ratings between October 1960 and April 1961. The Rawhide years were some of the most grueling of Eastwood's career, often filming 6 days a week for an average of 12 hours a day, yet he still received criticism by some directors for not working hard enough. By late 1963, Rawhide was beginning to decline in the ratings and lacked freshness in the script. It was cancelled in the middle of the 1965-66 television season. Eastwood made his first attempt at directing when he filmed several trailers for the show, although he was unable to convince producers to let him direct an episode. In the show's first season, Eastwood earned $750 an episode. At the time of Rawhide's cancellation, he received $119,000 an episode as severance pay. In late 1963, Eastwood's co-star on Rawhide, Eric Fleming, rejected an offer to star in an Italian-made western called A Fistful of Dollars, which was directed in a remote region of Spain by the then relatively unknown Sergio Leone. Richard Harrison suggested Eastwood to Leone because Harrison knew Eastwood could play a cowboy convincingly. Eastwood thought the film would be an opportunity to escape from his Rawhide image. Eastwood signed a contract for $15,000 in wages for 11 weeks' work, with a bonus of a Mercedes automobile upon completion. Eastwood later spoke of the transition from a television western to A Fistful of Dollars. In Rawhide, I did get awfully tired of playing the conventional white hat. The hero who kisses old ladies and dogs and was kind to everybody. I decided it was time to be an anti-hero. Eastwood was instrumental in creating the man with no name character's distinctive visual style, and, although a non-smoker, Leone insisted Eastwood smoke cigars as an essential ingredient of the mask he was attempting to create for the loner character. A Fistful of Dollars proved a landmark in the development of spaghetti westerns, with Leone depicting a more lawless and desolate world than traditional westerns and challenging American stereotypes of a western hero with a morally ambiguous anti-hero. The film's success made Eastwood a major star in Italy, and he was rehired to star in For a Few Dollars More, the second of the trilogy. Through the efforts of screenwriter Luciano Vincenzoni, the rights to For a Few Dollars More and the final film of the trilogy, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, were sold to United Artists for about $900,000. In January 1966, Eastwood met producer Dino De Laurentiis in New York City and agreed to star in a non-Western 5-part anthology production named The Witches opposite De Laurentiis' wife, actress Silvana Mangano. Eastwood's 19-minute installment took only a few days to shoot, but his performance did not please the critics, one writing that no other performance of his is quite so un-Clint-like. 2 months later, Eastwood began work on the third Dollars film, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, again playing the mysterious man with no name. Lee Van Cleef returned as a ruthless fortune seeker, with Eli Wallach portraying the cunning Mexican bandit Tuco Ramirez. The storyline involved the search for a cache of Confederate gold buried in a cemetery. During the filming of a scene in which a bridge was blown up, Eastwood urged Wallach to retreat to a hilltop. "I know about these things," he said. "Stay as far away from special effects and explosives as you can." Minutes later, confusion among the crew over the word "vaya" resulted in a premature explosion that could have killed Wallach. "I wanted to play it with an economy of words and create this whole feeling through attitude and movement. It was just the kind of character I had envisioned for a long time, keep to the mystery and allude to what happened in the past. It came about after the frustration of doing Rawhide for so long. I felt the less he said, the stronger he became, and the more he grew in the imagination of the audience." Eastwood, on playing the man with no name character. Stardom brought more roles for Eastwood. He signed to star in the American revisionist western Hang 'Em High, featured alongside Inger Stevens, Pat Hingle, Dennis Hopper, Ed Begley, Alan Hale, Ben Johnson, Bruce Dern, and James MacArthur, playing a man who takes up a marshal's badge and seeks revenge as a lawman after being lynched by vigilantes and left for dead. The film earned Eastwood a fee of $400,000 and 25% of its net box office takings. Using money earned from the Dollars trilogy, accountant and Eastwood advisor Irving Leonard helped establish Eastwood's own production company, Malpaso Productions, named after Malpaso Creek on Eastwood's property in Monterey County, California. As recently as a month prior to the film's release, 38-year-old Eastwood was still a relative unknown. In July 1968, syndicated columnist Dorothy Manners noted the proverbial man in the street is still asking, "Who's Clint Eastwood?" Leonard arranged for Hang 'Em High to be a joint production with United Artists. When it opened in August 1968, it had the largest opening weekend in United Artists history. Hang 'Em High was widely praised by critics, including Archer Winston of the New York Post, who described it as a western of quality, courage, danger and excitement. Before the release of Hang 'Em High, Eastwood had already begun working on Coogan's Bluff, about an Arizona deputy sheriff tracking a wanted psychopathic criminal through the streets of New York City. He was reunited with Universal Studios for it after receiving an offer of $1 million, more than double his previous salary. Jennings Lang arranged for Eastwood to meet Don Siegel, a Universal contract director who later became Eastwood's close friend, forming a partnership that would last more than 10 years and produce 5 films. Shooting began in November 1967, before the script had been finalized. The film was controversial for its portrayal of violence. Coogan's Bluff also became the first collaboration with Argentine composer Lalo Schifrin, who would later compose the jazzy score to several Eastwood films in the 1970s and 1980s, including the Dirty Harry films. Eastwood was paid $750,000 in 1968 for the war epic Where Eagles Dare, about a World War II squad parachuting into a Gestapo stronghold in the Alpine Mountains. Richard Burton played the squad's commander, with Eastwood as his right-hand man. Eastwood was also cast as Two-Face in the Batman television show, but the series was cancelled before filming began. Eastwood then branched out to star in the only musical of his career, Paint Your Wagon. Eastwood and Lee Marvin play gold miners who buy a Mormon settler's less favored wife at an auction. Bad weather and delays plagued the production, and the film's budget eventually exceeded $20 million, which was extremely expensive for the time. The film was not a critical or commercial success, although it was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy. In 1970, Eastwood starred with Shirley MacLaine in the western Two Mules for Sister Sarah, directed by Don Siegel. The film follows an American mercenary who gets mixed up with a prostitute disguised as a nun and ends up helping a group of Laurista rebels during the reign of Emperor Maximilian I of Mexico. Eastwood once again played a mysterious stranger, unshaven, wearing a Sarah-plug vest and smoking a cigar. Although it received moderate reviews, the film is listed in the New York Times Guide to the Best 1,000 Movies Ever Made. Later the same year, Eastwood starred as one of a group of Americans who steal a fortune in gold from the Nazis in the World War II film Kelly's Heroes with Donald Sutherland and Telly Savalas. Kelly's Heroes was the last film Eastwood appeared in that was not produced by his own Malpaso Productions. Filming commenced in July 1969 on location in Yugoslavia and in London. The film received mostly a positive reception, and its anti-war sentiments were recognized. In the winter of 1969-70, Eastwood and Siegel began planning his next film, The Beguiled, a tale of a wounded Union soldier held captive by the sexually repressed matron of a Southern girls' school. Upon release, the film received major recognition in France and is considered one of Eastwood's finest works by the French. However, it grossed less than $1 million and, according to Eastwood and Lang, flopped due to poor publicity and the emasculated role of Eastwood. Eastwood's career reached a turning point in 1971. Before Irving Leonard died, he and Eastwood had discussed the idea of Malpaso producing Play Misty for Me, a film that was to give Eastwood the artistic control he desired and his debut as a director. The script was about a jazz disc jockey named Dave who has a casual affair with Evelyn, a listener who had been calling the radio station repeatedly at night, asking him to play her favorite song, Errol Garner's Misty. When Dave ends their relationship, the unhinged Evelyn becomes a murderous stalker. Filming commenced in Monterey in September 1970 and included footage of that year's Monterey Jazz Festival. The film was highly acclaimed with critics such as Jay Cox in Time magazine, Andrew Saris in The Village Voice, and Archer Winston in the New York Post, all praising the film, as well as Eastwood's directorial skills and performance. Walter was nominated for a Golden Globe Best Actress award for her performance in the film. Dirty Harry, written by Harry and Rita Fink, centers on a hard-edged New York City police inspector named Harry Callahan who is determined to stop a psychotic killer by any means. Dirty Harry has been described as being arguably Eastwood's most memorable character, and the film has been credited with inventing the loose cannon cop genre. Author Eric Lichtenfeld argues that Eastwood's role as Dirty Harry established the first true archetype of the action film genre. His lines are regarded by firearms historians, such as Gary James and Richard Vanola, as the force that catapulted the ownership of .44 Magnum revolvers to new heights in the United States, specifically the Smith & Wesson Model 29 carried by Harry Callahan. Dirty Harry achieved huge success after its release in December 1971, earning $22 million in the United States and Canada alone. It was Siegel's highest-grossing film and the start of a series of films featuring the character Harry Callahan. Although a number of critics praised Eastwood's performance as Dirty Harry, such as Jay Cox of Time magazine who described him as giving his best performance so far, tense, tough, full of implicit identification with his character, the film was also widely criticized as being fascistic. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.